they try to do everything to make the rules where no one gets hurt, but at the same time, college football are the biggest hypocrites. They have no issue in doing playoff games in the lower divisions where kids play more games, but in upper divisions they don't want to because you don't want the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big 10 to lose that that championship game, rainfall of money. And if blocking kicks is another thing, then it's just another thing that people will complain about, people will make a lot of common sense about, and then the NCAA along with the NFL will say, screw you, this is what we're going to do because we know you're going to watch anyway. And then we end up watching and complaining that it's stupid, but we're watching. So, but do I like it? No. You should be able to leap over. If I had the athletic ability to leap over a line, I'd be leaping over a line on everything. I'd leap over a line on a running play. I just leap over lines.
Yeah. No, so, I agree. It's football. You expect to see tackles. You expect to see kicks. You expect to see, all these things. And now they're wanting to outlaw or block, come up with these new rules. Yeah, I get it. It's for injuries. But at the same time, you're taking away from the game. So
they don't care, though. That's the whole thing. They don't care. It's not about that anymore for them, because here's the thing: all they care about is they don't want to be sued. They don't want to look bad. They don't want someone getting hurt. They don't want this, but they'll still run these kids out and make all the money in the world off of them. They don't want anyone to get hurt, but heaven forbid, let that kid take a Spam sandwich because he's hungry from someone. He's suspended for a game. Let these kids take what do they do? They got a grant. I forget the school last year. They got their financial aid check, and after they bought all their books and bought everything, that then they had a little bit of money left over, and someone at the bookstore said, "Hey, you have money left over. You still know you're going to need more supplies, like more pencils or more Scantrons or more this, more that, whatever." They spend the money on that, and they get suspended for a game or two because they shouldn't have spent the extra money. They should have sent it back. It's ridiculous. So I just think it's absolutely nuts what they do with these kids and what they do with these grants, and how coaches can, they could come into a living room and tell kids that they're going to be there and tell their parents they're going to be there, and then 4 months later get a better contract offer, and they take off. But heaven forbid the kid says, well, I don't want to go to that school. I want to play for this coach. Well, you've already committed. You got to sit out here. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what they do to the kids, and nobody really gives a crap. So now that I'm off my soapbox, yes, I think the rule is dumb.
Yeah, I have to agree that I don't agree with it. So I just think of it, what if I try to look at it the same way, and if what if NFL were to do the same thing, and pretty much football comes to be pointless when you start to prevent certain plays like these. But it's college football. They do what they want, and whether we like it or not.
That's just the rules. That's the way it goes down.
Speaking about liking things and not liking things, we, this last year, went through a lot of controversy with some of these players sitting out the national anthem. Some people agree with it, some didn't. In the wake of that, the U.S. soccer team passed the anthem rule, which all players have to stand up prior to the anthem. They have to stand up. And I think that's probably a good idea. The only reason why I look at it that they made this rule is that I don't agree. I don't disagree. I don't really care for these players sitting out the anthem, or what they prefer to sit it out or stand up for it. It's your choice. You can express yourself how you wish, but for me, I see it as, for me, any anthem, whether it's the U.S., whether it's Canada, whoever it be, I do it out of respect for the people and for that country, regardless of my views, regardless of anything. I applaud the U.S. soccer team for doing this, so to show that respect. What do you think of this? I want to ask you. And should other sports also maybe have something along this rule for players to stand for these anthems? And if they don't, should be some sort of penalty should they not obey by that?
Okay, the NBA has had this rule for a long time. It goes back to when Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf didn't stand for the national anthem, and that rule's been in place for a long time. I think two things about this. A rule is, if someone wants to do something in terms of protest and they're making tons of money, a rule or a fine, unless it has really big teeth in it anyway, is not going to stop them from doing it. So by that I mean, if, say, you don't say it's a rule in the NBA, and I don't know the consequences behind if you don't do it, but say you don't stand for the national anthem and you get fined, $10,000. Well, if I'm making $20 million a year, $10,000 isn't going to stop me from making a gesture. Now, if I get suspended 5-10 games without pay, that may have a different effect on what I decide to do. So I don't want to say it's right or wrong. It's tough for me. I think when you play for a league has a right to determine what rule they want to set for the good of their league. At the same time, I had an issue when Colin Kaepernick didn't stand, not with him, but with people saying he picked the wrong way to protest. And that was the other thing. It wasn't just Colin Kaepernick. There were a lot of people in the NFL that either didn't stand, they knelt, or they put their fist in the air, or they did other things. I always have an issue with peaceful protest when people say it's the wrong way for that person. I'm not saying for me or for anyone else, but that's the wrong way for them to protest, because there is no right way to protest, and that will fit everybody's wants. I harken back to the United States of America. They protested England by pouring, barrels of tea that they didn't want to pay taxes for. They protested by, basically there was a war between England and the United States. This country was built on protest. So I have a hard time when someone says, you can't protest like that because that's the wrong way. Well, what would have been the right way? No one can say what he should have done. He backed up what he said. He made donations of things. He's already said he would not protest by sitting again. And honestly, I think that's done now. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think there's going to be new sit down for the anthem protest. But if a league wants to do that, I have no issue with it. I can't. It's still a job. Every job has rules. Some jobs say you can't use screensavers on your screen at work. Well, that's their rule. If you decide to, put a picture of someone up, you broke the rule, so you have to face the consequences of breaking that rule. If you believe that's stopping you from doing something and you want to go for it, cool. But you also then have the right to be fired or be reprimanded. So I have no issue with the rule. It just has to have teeth in it. What I don't want, though, is if ownership or league sets the rule, that's one thing. What I don't want is some coach saying, where there's no rule, I'm not going to allow this nonsense because I don't believe in it. That's where I have a problem, because you may not believe in it, but you're not taking into account. Or when people say, I just want to watch sports, I don't really want to hear all the nonsense. That's my release. Well, tell Jackie Robinson that. And people are going to say, well, that was 1948. Well, tell him that. Tell women who are playing soccer and filling up stadiums more than the men were, but were making less than the men. Tell that to Serena and Venus Williams, who fought for female tennis players to have the same winning purse as the men. So politics is already involved in what we do and how we do it. And if you don't believe it, ask one of these NFL teams to pack up and move to another city and see if they'll do it if they have to pay for their own stadium, or if they're going to try to get subsidy from that city or that community or that metropolitan or that state. Because if they do, as a taxpayer, maybe that's something I want to vote on. And if I'm voting on it, guess what? It's politics. So it's involved in everything. So I guess long story short, yeah, if a place wants to invoke that rule, they should go for it. But if someone feels that it's that important to them, go for it. You just have to know you're going to live with the consequences that the rules are set up for.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. I have no opposition with what you decide to do, how you decide to protest. I agree also with the way you said there's no right way to protest. You protest how you wish, how you believe is the right way to do it. If you want to see change, be the change, and protesting is one of those ways to do that. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, you'll have to face the consequences, whether they invoke these rules or not, or that'll be interesting.
Yeah, but protest something. Don't. People go too far. Let me say that. They'll do something to protest, and to them it's the most important thing in the world. But if you're going to call attention upon yourself, at least be able to articulate what you're protesting and what you're doing. And don't do it just because someone else is doing it or because it's in vogue. But then on the backside, be willing to take the heat that comes with it. And I guess that's why when it came to Kaepernick last year, he took the heat. People said, well, why didn't he do it before? Why didn't he do it earlier? Why did he was he could have did it the year they went to, he could have did, he had everything to lose last year. If you're protesting something with nothing to lose, then that's a weak protest. And let me bring that back. If you have nothing to lose, it's easier to protest. We're talking about a guy who was a backup. No, well, he's a backup. Well, that means that he's easier to cut. Well, he's just trying to get attention to himself. For what reason? Why is he just trying to draw attention to himself? That makes absolutely no sense. Attention. Yeah, he could get cut, which means he loses his income. He could possibly not end up getting a job at another team. He's not under long-term contract. Hell, if anyone's going to protest and be safe about it, you think you do it when you have a long-term guaranteed bonus money contract, because then they're not going to cut you. You're safe and you're secure. When you're playing on what could be the last year of your contract and you may not get another contract or another team may not take you, you have something to lose. So that would be, I would think, the last time you would actually, or the last second you would actually do that. So I have something to if you're going to protest, fine, but articulate it. Tell me why. Know your reason. So I think that goes a long way as well. But yeah, you got to take the consequences. It's like staying out. Parents say to come in at 12. It's 12:15. You don't call them. You decide, hey, at 12:15, butt whooping is the same as at 2 o'clock butt whooping. Hell, that's the consequences you want. Go take those consequences.
You always have to take it, right? So,
yep.
Leading on to some more rules, MLB has a new rule. They have announced or introduced the no pitch intentional walk. So, I